about to be honest with y'all and expose myself and tell you all of the things that kept me fat. After losing 125 pounds, I am a firm believer in self-reflection and evaluation. And don't get that confused with self-hate or negative self-talk, because this isn't that. I often share with you guys all of the things that I did to try to lose weight, but my journey spanned over 12 years. Obviously, I was also doing something wrong. And as much as I give myself grace and say, yes, it was genetics, my PCOS, pregnancy, my hormones changed, hypothyroidism, it was me. It was me too. And if I take myself out of that equation, I'm going to end up right back where I was. So in today's video, let's talk about the bad habits that I had that kept me obese. And I don't need to be babied. I'm a grown woman. I don't need y'all in the comments saying it's okay. This is my truth, and I'm sharing my truth in hopes that you guys can do some own reflection and evaluation. And maybe we can start a trend of having open discussion and dialogue on some of the toxic traits that we have within ourselves that's holding us back. But before we get into today's video, if you've never seen my face before, hey girl, hey, my name is Janae, and I make a lot of content focused on fitness, wellness, and self-development, and helping you and I live our best healthy and active lives. So if that sounds like something you're into, go ahead and hit that subscribe button. Like this video if you are into the honest chats, the kitchen table talk, the talks that we have with our homegirls, but not out loud. And sometimes not even with ourselves. And this is a safe space, so comment down below and let me know, what are some bad habits that you have? What do you feel like is bad for your life? And what do you want better for yourselves? Obviously, anything that we list out, including whatever I say in this video, is subjective. You can think it's not an issue, but for me, it is. I can think that's not an issue, but for you, it is. So let's all be respectful and not baby each other, because if we say that it's a negative, then it's a negative for us. And that's okay. Make sure you're following me on TikTok and Instagram. I post a lot of different content over there. Now let's jump into today's video. Now I'm gonna come out the gate swinging with this one, because this one comes from my childhood. And it's not leaving the dinner table until everything is done on your plate. I definitely had to finish my plate and finish my food growing up. Every single meal, we were not wasting food. And not only that, I also had to eat things that I didn't like. So now I actually enjoy everything, which is a good and a bad thing. When it comes to finishing my food, even if I was full, even if I was no longer hungry, I still had to continuously push myself to continue to eat. And I also had to eat whatever was put on my plate, whether I liked it or not. There were so many times I snuck beets because my grandmother kept giving me beets. I snuck it in the trash. Oh my God. And my issue with obesity and food specifically was my overconsumption of food. And our issues with eating will look different for us all. Maybe for you, it is eating junk food and picking the wrong foods. For me, it was never about what I ate, because I can overeat broccoli. And I'm not talking about in a calorie sense. I'm talking about in a consumption sense. I was over consuming food no matter what it was, whether it was healthy or bad. And that is something that stemmed from my childhood. And thankfully for me, weight loss surgery is literally the thing that made me break that, because I had no choice, because they cut out 80% of my stomach. So the overconsumption part was literally stopped by force. And I'm so thankful for that. That thing from childhood continued on until I was an adult. And it was just a second nature thing as far as over-consuming food, to where I would eat until I was incredibly stuffed. I'm talking about binging beyond belief. And so when we talk about weight loss and we're talking about a weight loss journey, I had an issue with overly restricting myself, right? Doing these severe calorie deficits, and then going the complete opposite way and eating and eating and eating and eating. And I never had a good relationship with what a portion size was, how much to eat, And honestly, to listen to my hunger cues, because it doesn't matter how much is in front of me. I should be able to listen to my hunger cue and also my full and satiated cue and be like, enough is enough. Enough is enough. And this is actually going to lead me into the second bad habit that I had. Eating when I actually wasn't hungry. It's a stem of the overconsumption. But we get used to people offering us food and it seems very disrespectful, especially depending on what type of household you grew up in. A Black home is definitely disrespectful to go over to somebody's house, to come to somebody's event and not eat the food that's there. And so even if you're not hungry, there's always a plate for you to have. There's always seconds. And on top of that, there is dessert. Or you're out with friends and you want to go get something, but you're not hungry. So instead of just maybe having a drink, you're having appetizers, but you wasn't hungry to begin with. It's all of these social events that we find ourselves around that we're continuously eating food, not really realizing that we're not even hungry. And that was an issue that I had in my journey. Another bad habit I had was eating my emotions. I was and sometimes I feel like I still am an emotional eater, or at least I get triggered to eat emotionally. I have definitely come a long way with healing my relationship with food, but you guys, this is a evolving journey. I'm only 2 years into my most successful weight loss journey. I have 12 years of bad habits that I have to break. So not only did I overconsume food, but I ate out of emotion. And for me, it didn't matter what that emotion was. Sad, happy, angry, bored. That boredom eating, that one triggers me, especially when I'm at work. Another bad habit that I had on my weight loss journey that ties into the last point, so that's why I'm mentioning it now, was not realizing where I was. Not realizing my current state. When I started my weight loss journey, it first started off as baby weight. And baby weight spanned over a year, and then 2 years, and then 3 years, and then 4 years. And somewhere down the line, I disassociated myself from my body. And I think about this all the time when I read the High Five Method. I believe that's the book from Mel Robbins. She talks about going into the mirror, high-fiving yourself, and how so many times people don't even look at themselves in the mirror. And when I read that part of the book, it hit me like a ton of bricks and I was still obese at this point when I read this book. It really hit me and it was gut-wrenching because I had realized that I was no longer looking at myself. I was no longer registering the person that I was. I had disassociated myself from my obese body. I did not recognize who I allowed myself to become. Like I say all the time, I did not grow up overweight. It started from pregnancy. And so when I blamed it on that, not even realizing all of the contributing factors that I had a part of, that I made my situation worse from. And I did that. And then I kind of abandoned myself in a way. No, not even in a way. I abandoned myself. I let myself down. I literally totally disappeared from myself. Not 100% because obviously I kept trying to lose weight, right? The journey spanned over 12 years. I kept trying some new diet, kept working out. So it's not like I totally abandoned myself, but there was a psychological component that was happening there. And I wish I would have picked up on it, got therapy. And I never actually got therapy for this. Maybe I need to go do that. I digress. But there definitely was a part of me where I had disconnected from myself and from my actions, and I started feeling guilt behind it, which led me into the emotional eating. It was as if I was filling this hole because I had lost who Janae was. I didn't even recognize who Janae was anymore. I didn't even know who Janae was. And I felt so empty inside. And I was filling that with whatever emotion I was going through. I got discharged from the army because of my weight. I had to figure out my life as far as work and school was concerned. And I didn't even know where to begin because I didn't think I was going to be out of the army that soon. Now, granted, I didn't plan on doing a full 20 years, but I wasn't ready to get out after 3. And at that point, like, you know, my husband and I were young. We're both the most successful in our family at that age. And so figuring out life together so early on, figuring out money issues, figuring out just life, people dying in our lives. There was so much going on being so young. And I literally just let myself fall into my excuses. And I let myself fall into life that was happening around me instead of dealing with it and pushing on. I was chalking up my weight loss journey and the weight that I had put on as a failure. I was making it personal, and it wasn't personal. It was just something that happened and something that I needed to correct, but I made it be a personal thing, which made me start feeling bad about myself and made me start believing some of that negative self-talk that I had. And so this is truly reflection. This isn't negative self-talk. What I was doing before to myself was definitely negative self-talk and self-sabotage that kept me in this constant cycle of the bad eating habits and abusing fitness and the yo-yo dieting and just like everything. And because I was eating for pleasure and eating my emotions and filling this hole, it actually leads me to another bad habit I had, which was sneakily eating. So there was a countless amount of times. My husband probably doesn't even know this, but like there would be times where I was like cruising to McDonald's to eat something, and then I knew I shouldn't have ate that. I knew I shouldn't be. Why am I in this drive-thru right now? Like there's so much money I spent on fast food and snacks or picking up dinner for everybody, but picking up myself something to eat in the car on the way home, and my meal is still in the bag. So I got me a Big Mac meal, but I also got me a McChicken that I'm eating right now. And then I'm hiding the wrapper and I'm throwing the wrapper away. There are a lot of times that I did that. I told you, I'm exposing myself here. And if it wasn't sneaky, well, why do I feel like I have to do it in secret? Why do I have to hang up the phone with whoever I'm on the phone with, specifically my husband, because I don't want him to hear that I'm in the drive-thru ordering me some food? Or why am I throwing away and boiling up these wrappers? Why am I doing these things? Because I feel some sort of guilt and shame around the actions that I'm doing. And it kept me in this constant cycle. Now, enough with all of the emotions and the deep stuff, but another bad habit I did was drinking my calories. I would be drinking juice and soda and all of this stuff. And we honestly don't realize how many calories that packs on. Like all of the juices, all of the fruit juices, all of the smoothies, thinking that we're being so healthy, all of the pressed juices, thinking that we're being so healthy, and how many calories that's actually packing on. And so I'm still a foodie at heart. You guys know I call myself the fit foodie. So I prefer to eat my calories. I eat my calories, then drink them. I can do the zero sugar, the diet. I am fine with that. I don't care about the artificial sweetener. I don't care. This has just been one small swap that I made in my journey that helps me and keeps me honest and on track. And so I do it. Another bad habit that I have that I always actually tell everyone else to not do is being distracted while I'm eating. So if I'm at the dinner table and I'm scrolling and eating, watching TV, we used to have these dinner trays for the living room. Eating and watching TV, I no longer do that. Because when I used to do that, I'm like not even thinking about not only how much I'm eating, but how much is on that fork, how big of a bite I'm eating. I'm not chewing my food all the way. How I continuously keep stuff in my mouth and not paying attention to my hunger cues and my full cues. It really doesn't take me that long, especially now that I had weight loss surgery, to be full and to feel full. I can put my phone down. I can put the TV away. I don't have to pay attention for 10 minutes. For 10 minutes, I cannot be distracted and be present in what I'm feeling. And at any rate, I can just play some music in the background. I can have a podcast going in the background. I really tried my best not to sit there and be distracted while eating. Now, granted, with all of the work that I do on social media, it's kind of hard sometimes, but it's something that I actively make sure that I don't do. Another bad habit that I had on my journey was not moving my body enough and in the right way and for the right reasons. There will be times on my journey that I will be trying to go so hard. Even though I never gave up fitness, there will be times where I definitely was a couch potato and not moving my body at all. Then I would go so hard, so hard, running, lifting, to where now my body is sore because I didn't give myself the proper stretching I needed, the proper cooling down I needed, the proper recovery period that I needed. So now I'm extremely sore, so sore that I can't even make it to the gym. And I'm back on the couch for maybe up to a month. And it was this continuous cycling that was going on. And again, me trying to utilize fitness for the wrong reasons. Me doing it solely because I wanted to lose weight. And so I was also doing things that I didn't even enjoy doing. Running, which is funny now. It's comical to me now that I'm a runner and that I enjoy it now. Because before, I literally used to do it only for weight loss. I hated it. I sucked at it. It was not pleasurable, but I was doing it all the time. It's full circle moment here. Another bad habit I had was waiting on someone else to get my journey started. So you know how we have our accountability friend, you know, you make a pact with your bestie that this is what you're gonna do, this is what you're gonna do. And then they don't do it, you don't do it. You don't do it, they don't do it. They don't check in, you don't check in. Enough with the foolishness. Now, there's nothing wrong with having someone to lean on, but that doesn't mean you have to rely on them, because at the end of the day, this is your life. What they eat, how they move their body has no effect on you, and vice versa. You don't need any motivation from anyone else. You don't even need any motivation within yourself. It's a scam, to be honest, and one of those fleeting emotions. You need to just start doing it, doing the hard thing, doing the thing that you know that needs to get done. And that's that. Grocery shopping. Oh my God, I feel like the bad habits can continue to go on. Grocery shopping. I always went to the store, and sometimes I still do, go to the store hungry. I go to the store famished. And even with a list in my hand, I not only pick up things and buy extra things that wasn't even on my list, I also buy things so that I can eat on the way home. Something quick, something high in sodium, something probably sugary that I do not need to be eating. I pick it up and go home, and then again, I'm sneaking that food because I know I'm not supposed to have it. Foolishness. Another bad habit, I was avoiding my doctor like the plague. Like the plague, because I already knew the last conversation we had, the expectations that they had for me. And I knew I should have been following up. And I let time go by. And they would hit that patient portal up like, where you at? Where you at, Miss Sanders? Nowhere to be found, because I didn't do anything that I said I was going to do. Avoiding my doctor like the plague. But not only that, not leaning on them and figuring out help and figuring out like an answer, a solution, figuring out the internal issues and difficulties that I'm now having. I wish I would have known that sooner. And maybe if I would have taken my butt to my doctor's appointments, then I would have known it sooner and came up with a game plan sooner. But You live and you learn. Between external factors and internal factors, fitness, food, mental health, you name it, there was an area in my life that I allowed a bad habit to develop that affected my weight loss and overall health and wellness journey. You know, to be honest with you all, I honestly don't know where I would be if I did not have weight loss surgery. I can see it. I can see myself still being on the same path that I was on, the continuous path of yo-yo dieting and doing the next, thing to try to hurry up and lose weight. Like, that's where I would have been at. And now, granted, now are the times of the GLP-1s and the pills and all that stuff. But 3 years ago in 2022, when I was first going through my weight loss surgery journey, things wasn't like this. It was not giving this. And so I can only imagine where I would be right now. Now that I am 2 years into my most successful weight loss journey, I have learned and developed and evolved so much in these last 2 years and really taken back my life. And I'm starting to know who Janae is. I still do have a lot of compassion and love and respect for the previous Janae. She got me here. And me pointing out these bad habits is in no way me shaming my old self, me fat shaming, me being fat phobic to my old self or to anyone if something that I did that I feel like is bad is on your list or things that you do. But I think to move forward in our journeys, it has to start with honesty. It has to start with integrity and accountability for our own selves. Before we start blaming genetics, before we start blaming health disorders, before we start blaming a lack of mobility, where is the accountability within ourselves? And no matter what happens in my journey, whether I regain some weight or not, whether I drop down to a small size or not, wherever I end up at, I never want to lose this. I never want to lose the accountability. I never want to lose the honest conversation that I'm having with my own self because I am who matters here. I'm the main character in my life. And so if I can't be honest with my own self, I can't be honest with anyone else. If I can't see what I'm doing to myself, how can I point out anything that anyone else is doing? So people often ask me if I'm afraid of weight regain. And at one point, yes, before I did all this work, yes, I definitely was afraid of weight regain. But I'm no longer afraid, not only because I have the education that I do have and I have the plans in place as far as relying on, my medical professionals if something does go crazy, but I also do daily checks with myself. I talk to myself. I think to myself. And even though I do believe in balance and moderation for my own journey, there's a limit to everything. And I check that within myself. So what does that look like for you? What do you want it to look like for you? And if you want me to do a video talking about my own checks and balances, let me know. Y'all know I obviously don't care about spilling my own tea. I hope this video was insightful for you and thought-provoking for you. I hope it made you think about checking your own self, talking to your own self, having an honest conversation with your own self, getting that accountability with your own self so that you can start your weight loss journey, your fitness journey, your wellness journey right, no matter what the end all goal is. I can give you all of these weight loss tips and make all of these videos for you guys, but it starts here. It starts here. You have to recognize what are your own downfalls that's keeping you back, because you can have all the tips, but if you're self-sabotaging yourself over here, you're gonna be like a hamster going around and around and around. If you enjoyed this video, make sure you give it a big thumbs up, subscribe if you haven't already, and hit that bell icon. That way you're notified every single time I post a new video. Make sure you follow me on TikTok and Instagram. On TikTok, I'm always hosting lives and answering your questions in a moment. And on Instagram, I'm super active in my stories. I do have a broadcast channel. They end up knowing the tea first. So make sure you're following me over there. Thank you guys so much for watching, and I will see you in the next video.